All right, everybody. Let's see. Let's check. This is probably running all of it. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see. So, just a couple of hours ago, I received this email or this letter, which was written by Mikhail Kurtika. I hope that I don't butcher his name. It was written yesterday and probably sent yesterday, addressed to Mr. Franz Timmermans, the executive vice president of the, I don't know, what is it? Apparently there are two. In any case, he's responsible for most of the climate change stuff in the European Union. I believe the European Commission. And this is a fairly interesting letter, and I'm going to read it for you because this is probably downscaled. I don't know if you can read it, and it's only a page or two long. Wouldn't take too long to read this, and it's pretty interesting because this is exactly what needs to happen. This is what also Estonia needs to do, Lithuania, all the Baltic states, every country that is now considering nuclear energy as a source for clean energy should write this letter and say, "Screw you, Timmermans. We're not going to play ball." So let's go ahead. As the Polish climate minister and former president of COP24, please allow me to express my deep appreciation for the ongoing efforts the Commission is undertaking in the fight against climate change, especially in its energy dimension, through promoting transformation towards climate neutral energy systems. I would like to reiterate that Poland remains committed to gradually but steadily align its power sector to this paradigm, which it fully supports. At the same time, it is important to stress how local conditions may vary, requiring different priorities and actions. Poland's baseload generation currently relies heavily on fossil fuel combustion. Our, geog- our geography excludes the development of non intermittent renewable capacity like hydro, while the window of opportunity to implement nuclear power was missed in the late 80s as a result of an arbitrary decision. This combined with a large population and industry with rising energy demand puts us at a different starting point than the rest of our EU partners. This is why Poland, following good example and experience from other member states, intends to develop nuclear power to replace the baseload capacity provided by coal with a zero emission stable generation at affordable wait a second to replace baseload capacity provided by coal with a zero emission stable generation at a cost affordable for Polish citizens and economy. We strongly believe all available low emission technologies that can help to achieve a climate neutral EU by 2050 should be supported by the European Union. Therefore, we were surprised when nuclear power was not reflected in the recent EU policies, including the European Green Deal package, while its place in the EU taxonomy is still under question. While half of EU countries utilizes or intends to develop nuclear power as a part of their energy transformation, this technology, providing nearly half of EU low emissions generation, is excluded from the broad financial opportunities the green transition provides, which eliminates the level playing field in in the energy sector. Although we are aware that the provision of any support to the nuclear sector is contested by a number of member states, we are also deeply convinced that this should by no means impede the room of choice for countries that consider it a necessary element of their energy mix. Excluding nuclear sector from the green energy transition opportunities bypasses the principle of member state energy sovereignty and violates obligations under the Euratom Treaty to promote the development of EU nuclear sector enshrined in Articles 1 and 2C. Therefore, while not questioning the green transformation as such, but posing fundamental question about its general direction and principles in terms of technology, I would like to once again emphasize the necessary role that nuclear energy has to play in clean energy systems, which is strongly supported by recent reports delivered by the IPCC and International Energy Organization, to name a few. Moreover, while bearing in mind that all existing energy technologies have a negative impact on the environment, more and more international studies conclude that the environmental footprint of nuclear generation, even considering its entire life cycle, is per unit of generating capacity no higher than the one left behind by renewable generation. Considering the increasing network imbalances partially attribu- attributable to the rising the deployment of intermittent renewables, nuclear will remain indispensable in the EU power system for decades to come. As a stable, low emission baseload, it will guarantee the continued renewable deployment provided synergies between these two complementary technologies are fully explored. This is a good place to recall the European strategic long term vision for a prosperous, modern, competitive, and climate neutral economy, a clean planet for all, which acknowledges that nuclear power, together with renewables, will form the backbone of a carbon free European power system, which was later confirmed in the November 2019 European Parliament resolution on COP25. The COVID 19 recovery highlighted another benefit from the development of nuclear power, which is capable of producing a broad added value across many industrial sectors and generates a large number of high quality jobs, both directly and indirectly. This is why the decades long and hard earned European leadership in nuclear technologies should not be squandered. To the contrary, it is our responsibility to maintain and develop it for the benefit of future generations. To conclude, Poland remains committed to the progress towards climate neutrality, which it intends to endeavor through the deployment of both renewable and nuclear technologies, while exploiting invaluable synergies between the two. Therefore, we call it on the European Union, on the European Commission, as the guardian of the treaties, including the Euratom Treaty, to ensure that the EU energy and climate policy is developed in a technology neutral and evidence based manner, including the works undertaken within the European Green Deal and sustainable finance packages. Such fact based approach will only be possible with the involvement of independent experts with strong knowledge of the nuclear cycle. It is also important that the EU reaches out to analysis undertaken by major international organizations like the Report on the Development of Deep Geological Repositories, currently elaborated by the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, and many other documents published by the International Atomic Energy Agency in this scope. Further, further prejudice against nuclear power will only continue to penalize new build projects implemented by several member states, thus hindering the electrification process to which nuclear, representing over 45% of EU low emission generation, is a major contributor. But most importantly, taking nuclear out of the picture will prevent the achievement of 2050 climate goals, which is well demonstrated by raising CO2 emission levels in the countries phasing out nuclear power. Reiterating my full support to the green transition efforts to the Commission is robustly undertaking, I remain open to further exchange with you on this important topic. Um, what can I say? I am really hoping that more ministers will join this effort. I just took a brief look on PRIS, which is a reactor database. It tells us that currently a couple of countries are building nuclear reactors. In total, there are 54 under construction, among which reactors in Slovakia, the United Kingdom, Finland, and France. When we're talking about Europe, I made this little silly map here. Let me show it to you. I can download the map and then we can put it here. Let's see if we can get it nicely into the screen. Yes, there it is. So, what do we have here? Or what we have here is the following. Let's see. This looks strange. What's so strange about this? Why is it that strange? For some reason, it put this piece of the legend in there. I don't know why. So the big black mass on the right hand, most of it is Russia. There's also Belarus in there. Belarus is building new nuclear plants, Ostrovets, if I'm not mistaken. Finland is building new nuclear power plants, two of them at this moment, Olkiluoto, and the other one I can't pronounce. Sorry, it's a Russian design of EVER. But what's more poignant, and I want to talk about this in a broader context, and please forgive me, Switzerland is in here, and there's a couple of other countries in here that are not part of the EU, but they are part of the larger matter, the larger picture. Um, so basically, you have the Germany, Austria, and Italy, which are the predominant anti-nuclear countries in Europe. Luxembourg is also included because I remember a minister of Luxembourg trying to um, do some kind of legal case against Hungary for trying to expand its nuclear capacity. So those are in the red. Those are the countries that are phasing out nuclear or don't have any nuclear to speak of. Then there's the orange countries. Those are the countries that have nuclear, are phasing some, or if not all of that capacity out, but there's still a little window left to save whatever they have, and we might be able to turn things around. So that's Sweden, Belgium. I didn't count the Netherlands because we don't formally have the plan to phase out. We are actually open to renewing the license of the one power reactor that we have. So basically, we are a country operating a nuclear power plant without any intentions, any real intentions of phasing it out right now. It does have a license until I believe 2033 or 2035, but it's still up in the air whether we are going to relicense that plant or not. Plus, there are many voices starting to make sounds about wanting to restart new reactor builds. Basically, Belgium. We don't know for sure whether they will phase out everything. They're planning to phase out everything, but we might be able to stop that because otherwise they will be building new gas-fired power plants. They will be building new gas-fired power plants. However, whatever happens, then there's France. They have this commitment to reducing their nuclear power generation capacity by half, I believe. Yet they're still building new nuclear power plants. And then there is Spain. Spain has no intention of renewing any of the licenses of their reactors. And finally, we have Switzerland, in which everything is still up in the air. Looks like they're going to phase out eventually. Then we have the dark green. Oh no, the dark green countries. Those are the countries that are actually considering building new nuclear power plants and are building new nuclear power plants, among which is Slovakia, England, or the UK. I don't know how to best appoint this piece of land here. And Finland, France is also building new nuclear reactors, but they want to, curve down on their capacity. And then finally, and this is the most important piece, these are the yellow countries. These are countries that are actually considering to build new nuclear reactors. They are considering to jump into the pool of people playing with nuclear reactors, basically. So we see it's all the Baltic states, it's Poland, Serbia is considering building new nuclear reactors. Portugal is, there are some noises being made about new nuclear in Ireland as well. Then there's Norway, which is not by definition a European country, but or an EU country. But in any case, and then there's Denmark. We have some startups at Denmark that are trying to push the nuclear agenda forward in Denmark, which is not easy because they have ample wind capacity. So there's that, and then there's the blue section down here, the Balkans. I don't know. I really don't know whether they are serious about nuclear, whether they want nuclear, or whether that is an issue at all. I don't know. But if you look closely, then you see that the entire eastern flank of the EU, it is comprised of countries that are considering nuclear power plants. And I believe that the number of countries that have nuclear power and don't want to phase it out or are considering new power plants outnumber the ones who are anti nuclear by about 3 to 1. So I would like people to understand that this Green New Deal of the EU is far from a fait accompli. There's still a lot of stuff that needs to happen, and for some of these countries, renewables are an option, but not an option in a sense that they can deploy enough of them to get rid of their dirty coal or dirty lignite, or for instance, in Estonia's case, they are still using bituminous oil, which is very dirty. So yeah, there's that. There was this thing that I wanted to show you people because this is about Poland, and if you look at Poland, then you see that this is from the global solar atlas. You see that they're so far up already from away from the equator that their solar irradiance is not, it's not enough to really warrant a huge solar build out. Wind, on the other hand, they have a nice piece of coastline with loads of wind resources. But you know what? There's a couple of problems there. First of all, most of the economic activity in Poland is concentrated in the south. So if you build a lot of wind capacity over there, you need to transport all that across the country. And Poland is not a small country, by the way. I mean, in the shortest bit, it's probably 300 kilometers that you need to traverse from coast to southern border. So wind, it's an option. They will probably do some wind. I mean, there's Danzig in the north, which is a pretty industrious city. There's some couple of other big cities in the middle of the country, but most of it is concentrated in the south. So, I mean, and here's the thing: you can't force people to build windmills if they don't want to. If they say, "Well, we don't want to rely for 50% on wind energy," why force them? Why not let them build a nuclear power reactor, and why not let them benefit of the transitional funds that are there? So basically, this is the solar irradiance map. As you can see, it cuts off. Finland only has like a smidgen of reasonable sunspots left, but this is mainly to do because the sun really doesn't shine a couple of weeks in the year. I mean, it literally disappears below the horizon and doesn't come back. So you can't get much energy off your PV panel. So wind would be a much better idea here. But there's a reason why Finland is building these nuclear power plants. They are not building nuclear power plants because they have no, because they're the cheapest. They are building nuclear power plants because they are the best option for country that has to live with darkness for a quite long while. So I tip my hat to the minister of, let me see, the minister of climate from Poland. I think that he is amazing. I hope that more ministers follow suit, send these letters to Frans Timmermans, and make sure that nuclear gets the same treatment as renewables do. And there's plenty of reasons why we should do this. Nuclear uses less materials than wind or solar. The waste stream from nuclear is the only waste stream on the planet that is managed as well as it is. People who are saying, well, there's carcinogens in there and it radiates for millennia and I don't know what. Um, the message is very simple. One, it's so easy to handle. It doesn't want to go anywhere. It's just solid, encased in a metal tube. And secondly, we can reuse it. Why would you throw away a resource? So that's it. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.